I came across an article that I thought was fascinating by the 33rd team. Oddly enough, this guy is no longer in business with the 33rd team, which is a shame because this article was excellent, right? And so he talks about how Jalon Walker is the NFL's next great defensive chess piece, right? And I do wonder about something, to speak to your point, Anthony, about, guys that are, kind of trait guys, right? The thing that concerns me with the Jalon Walker situation is, what is he, right? Is he an off-ball linebacker? Is he an edge, right? I know he kind of does the Parsons thing where he can kind of do both, but what would we ask him to do, right? Now, I think that this article gave a good snapshot into what could potentially be asked of him in this defense, but you have to gauge that on how much you believe in Ejiro Evero, which I would say at this moment is probably not a lot. All right, but let's get to it. So the 2025 NFL Draft offers franchises seemingly endless opportunities to add quality pass rushers, blah, blah, blah. You wouldn't take someone like Marshall's Mike Green or Boston College's Donovan Ezeraku, who I love, by the way, and play them as a base end over top of tackles all the time, just like you wouldn't take Arkansas's Landon Jackson, ask him to play a wide nine scheme. Penn State's Abdul Carter is rightfully perceived to be a hybrid mix that could shine early in early opportunity as a universal talent. Then there is Jalon Walker. Walker's not a universal talent, but should be considered a hybrid mix of traits, skills, and potential fits. I do like that. I like hearing that. At the same time, though, I also like guys that are like dedicated to their specific position. But you know what? If it works for them, it works for me. Here at the 33rd team, we're in. On the heels of the Senior Bowl, Walker ranked 10th in our latest big board update. A lot of people like this guy. And it seems, to me, I guess, dare I say, it's not, when you think about all the names that exist in this, draft cycle, a guy that I just mentioned in Nick Emenworry, Ted McMillan, Mason Graham, Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter. It's not the sexy pick, right? But it might be the right one. It might be the right pick. It may be the pick that leads to the kind of guy that this is. Like, and I do think that there's something to be said for this too. Like, one of the things that I've heard from the likes of the David Newtons and Joe Pearsons and others, right, is that, and I'm going to say Joe Pearson. We're gonna leave David out of this. But one of the things that I've heard more than anything is that this guy is a football savant, right? Smart player. Hey, what's up, guys? It's John Farmer. And what's the one thing that causes more frustrations for sports fans while watching your favorite game? Penalties. These flags have the ability to alter the outcome of games, keeping you out of the playoffs, or possibly worse, winning a Super Bowl, which leaves us feeling helpless and voiceless. Well, not any longer. Introducing Penalty Verdict, the ultimate penalty voting experience. With Penalty Verdict, you can vote on penalty calls in real time on both NFL and college football games. Engage with a community of football fans who desire fair play and accountability, and unlock the next dimension of sports by engaging with real-time polling referees, players, and teams. Penalty Verdict is in the developmental stages and would love to hear from you. What features would you like to see on the app for the upcoming football season? Make sure to go to penaltyverdict.com, sign up to join the mailing list, and give your information and your feedback for the upcoming football season. Look, this is going to be an absolutely revolutionary app for us to be able to vote in real time. I love this. Penaltyverdict.com, join the waiting list, wait for the revolution to begin. To match with, a lot of intangibles, a lot of great athletic intangibles. So it's not as if you're not drafting a bum, you know what I'm saying? But to me, I guess I'm trying to just understand it more. So then I leaned on an article like this to kind of help me to understand that and be like, okay, well, I could see where this could work for us, right? Walker isn't the tallest or the longest pass rusher in the class at the NFL Combine. That honor may go to Texas A&M Shamar Stewart, y'all's guy. He posted an 83.5 wingspan at the Senior Bowl. Walker isn't the most fluid or the most flexible running arc. These are traits that usually get associated with top pass rusher talents. And see, this is what's the scary part about that, is because when you go off of traits like that, right? Now, his film is incredible. Don't get me wrong. But it's like when you go to the next level, I just hope that this doesn't turn out to be sort of a Zach Bond situation, right? Because Zach Bond in New Orleans was unknown, if you will, right, for a number of years. And then Zach Bond in Philly as an off-ball linebacker became a superstar. So I would hope that if it is something like that, that they identify it early enough to be like, hey, you're moving over there, and we're going to do something else over here, right? However, at listed 6'2", 245 pounds, Walker boasts explosive power that is potentially unrivaled among his peers. His natural leverage due to his shorter frame allows him to play under a lineman's pads and create displacement with his rushes. Is it possible that he could be, if asked, because this is what I think about too. The thing that a lot of you guys that are talking about the Shamar Stewart stuff and the, Nick Skirton stuff, right? If he's asked to be something dedicated, hey man, we're going to line you up on the edge and I want you to be a dedicated outside 3-4 linebacker or a rusher when we come in the nickel. Like, that's what I want you to be. Is it possible that he could be his own version? Now, I'm going to be careful when I say this because I don't want y'all to start going crazy. But could he potentially have that same kind of arc that Abdul Carter had? Why do I ask? Because if we remember, Abdul Carter kind of had a similar path where Abdul Carter was an off-ball linebacker before he moved to edge rusher this year and became an absolute maniac, right? So is it possible that when he gets to the next level, they see some similarities and they're just like, oh, we can do that with him here. And then he turns into his own version of that. And then we're like, holy crap, we got him from Georgia, right? Anyway, Walker takes advantage of the power and displacement to help him reduce the severity of the angles he needs to play off the reach of quarterback. And thanks to consistently well-placed hands, Walker often wins the first contact with his power reps through a long arm stab or speed to power conversion. I hear that a lot. Speed to power, right? Important for a pass rusher. You can't tell Walker's story by only framing the pass rushing profile, although 19.7% pressure rate in 2024 certainly isn't bad. Absolutely not as bad, especially when you kind of go down a little bit and you see that Abdul Carter posted 19.5 in comparison, and James Pierce, my guy, posted 23%. Walker's alignment, versatility, diversity of skills, and hybrid skills are a big piece of who he is. So this is really where we get into the meat and potatoes of what they're talking about as far as his versatility is concerned and how he could potentially be a superstar. It's important to recognize that some of Walker's reps from Georgia won't correlate to a consistent role at the NFL level. The Bulldogs would mug Walker into interior gaps as a linebacker and have him shallow stalk and spy the quarterback. They'd implement this rush technique while attacking with 3 other pass rushers in a traditional rush against mobile quarterbacks, allowing Walker's explosive burst and trigger to close ground when those quarterbacks broke containment out of the pocket. A role like this can be helpful in situational opportunities, but shouldn't be considered a consistent week-to-week opportunity. I think that's important. Yet his resume still shows a robust range of alignment and stylistic rush wins. When they talk about, you can see he closes, man. This dude is an athletic freak. I got mad family in Salisbury, North Carolina, so salute to Salisbury. So this is him basically as an edge. It's not bad, right? You can see it's there, even at the position that we covet so much. But when I think about it, man, y'all tell me. That don't jump off like Mike Green to me. It don't jump off like Pierce. It don't jump off like Ezeraku. Man, I watched Ezeraku's bend, watching him at Boston College, man, especially that Florida State game. That was obviously the whole world saw that. But he did that all year. All year. Y'all tell me, is that what y'all want? Dedicated pass rusher or absolute versatile monster? I'll come to the chat in a minute. Walker's off-ball work as a traditional linebacker was helpful for Georgia, but playing him as a stack player off the ball does play away from most of his strengths. If you're looking to project Walker to the NFL, you likely aren't looking at the reps with much excitement. That said, it has still groomed him for a role available in several stops across the league. Like who? Look around the NFL right now and you'll find Mike McDonald's simulated pressure scheme putting roots down across the landscape. McDonald himself is the head man in Seattle. Before the Seahawks job, McDonald was the defensive coordinator in Baltimore. I saw another familiar name in here that I wanted to mention. Let's see. Go down through here and see if I can find it. All right, real quick. If your rush linebacker isn't comfortable or bred to play in space as a shallow flat or hook defender, you may be vulnerable to an opposing quarterback taking vacant space to that defender's zone responsibility. Can the defender plaster a hook route or expand properly to leverage a flat? Do they have a feel to squeeze their zone landmark against a nub tight end? Man, some of these, with no other threats to the flat if the back goes away. Defensive coordinators who want to run simulated pressure. I'm so immature, y'all. My bad. Pressure schemes must be comfortable with these kinds of questions if they want their rush defenders off the edge to drop into coverage to get a non-traditional four-man rush. I think that's important. That's what we saw with Philly. And here's some tape that kind of shows it, right? So we see him lined up, drop back, pretty much took what would be their slot receiver out of the, completely out of the play there. And there he is again, kind of approaching the line of scrimmage, simulated pressure. Boom, drop back, right into the flat. I mean, I'm not saying that I haven't seen that. I do think that's important though. Because if you can match that with having a four-man front that is capable, doesn't have to be amazing, right? But it's got to be capable, better than what we saw this year. You could see where this could help tremendously. And maybe they would use him as a chess piece that could become extremely versatile for this defense and turn into a superstar. So in the case of Walker, he played nearly 180 snaps in coverage this season. He played just 15 more snaps rushing the passer as he did in space. Some of this is because of where he took the snaps. 311 came as some kind of box defender. 249 came as an edge defender on the line of scrimmage. These numbers should skew more heavily towards playing in the edge in the NFL. However, the exposure he has had to play with this season, had this season to play in space as a traditional stack backer and as an edge defender dropping have given him unique experiences to play in sim pressure defenses, right? So, sum it up. When you factor in Walker's pass rush resume as a traditional rusher off the edge, this is no longer your typical positionless chess piece defender. Even if it were, there are more destinations across the league to properly equip such a talent than ever before. So I land this plane by asking you this in the chat. Do you trust who we have as a brain trust at defensive coordinator to make what we just read right there happen? When you factor in Walker's pass rush resume as a traditional rusher off the edge, this is no longer your typical positionless chess piece defender. Even if it were, there are more destinations across the league to properly equip such a talent than ever before. I don't want to throw any kind of negativity on anybody's name. I'm not built like that, right? But if I'm going off of what I saw last year, does any of that make sense to you? When you talk about simulated pressure, when you talk about like using a chess piece, all this other kind of stuff with the guy that we have at defensive coordinator, I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. Tell me I'm wrong.